In episode 53, we're going to be covering archery form and technique. Archery is a sport that can be a blast for all ages and is something that can be really easy to take up, but really takes a lifetime to master. Our guests today are certified instructors that can make anyone from a beginning archer to even the most advanced shooters more accurate and confident with a bow and arrow.
Welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast, your source for information on hunting, fishing, and all of your outdoor passions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. My name is Mike Anderson, and today we are on location at SCHEELS Archery University. With me today is Brian Klatt and Jack Moulton of the Sioux Falls SCHEELS store. Jack, how you doing today?
I am just this side of wonderful.
Perfect. How about you, Brian?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's great. So I've personally never been to a SCHEELS Archery University, and I'm guessing a lot of listeners don't know what that exactly is. So can you just dive into it a little bit? What Archery U is all about and why it's important to both SCHEELS people and to the listeners out there?
Last year was the first year that I was at a SCHEELS University. The experience that it gave me was an opportunity to learn a lot of the new equipment that was out, some of the different things that I hadn't experienced yet, being part of a SCHEELS organization. One of the things that I see with this is that it really does give most of the employees within certain departments an opportunity to handle and just become better acquainted with things that they haven't had an opportunity to do. So, and Brian, he has far greater knowledge on this than I am.
Well, I've been to, quite a few universities as 22 years in to SCHEELS. Went to universities every year, if not every other year, for probably the first 10 years. And I went to one a couple of years ago just for better product knowledge, better hands-on and technical knowledge from the factory reps, from the factory people that are at the factory, that even some of the engineers, maybe even an owner will be here. A few years ago we had Will Primos, and it's just really good information to hear it straight from the company. You're not just looking at a catalog, you're not looking online and trying to figure the information out. They're telling you exactly how these parts or pieces work and why they've made it this way, whether it's bows, arrow companies, cameras, a lot of things in the archery industry, from calls to tools to sights, rests, peep sights, game cameras, all across the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my first archery university I've ever been to, and I was super excited when I walked in the door, just seeing all the different vendors from bow manufacturers to sights to rests to game cameras to you name it, anything archery. And like, I walk in the door and I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's like, oh, I get to test out and look at all these new goodies. And we're going to be shooting it. We're going to be getting a lot of just, in-field experience and just gaining all this information and being able to bring it back to the, to the people that visit us in store. So we can just, we're product experts at
Correct.
This point.
Correct.
So it's super cool. But, to kind of back things up a little bit, I'd like to hear from both of you. What got you first into archery?
Well, a friend of mine, his dad, you go downstairs as a little kid and here's his hunting room and all of his animal pelts, skins, pheasant feathers, turkey feathers, deer antlers, all these things there, pretty cool. And there's a couple more primitive weapons hanging up on the wall. Some that are just recurves and some that are compound bows, just back 30, 40 years ago. And very neat to see that. And then just going out in the backyard and picking it up and trying to fling some arrows out of it. Just something very primal to it, nostalgic to it. Just something to watch something fly out of what you're holding and stick into something that you're trying to aim or hit. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. How about you, Jack?
Well, I don't know if I can think back that far. I started shooting back when I was 12, 13 years old, and that's back in the early 70s. So when I say back that far, I mean that far. When I was a kid and I started shooting, I pretty much picked it up because I was the typical short, a little bit overweight, couldn't run, didn't like a lot of other things, and archery was something I didn't have to do anything real physical on. Just picked it up and had a natural eye and natural knack for it, and it was a lot of fun. Gave me an outlet to do something besides just sit at home or the typical sports. So that's pretty much how I got started, and it's afforded me the opportunity to see so many changes and different things within our sport that we've all come to love, not just for target shooting or bow hunting, but the whole sport. It's just really evolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been quite the evolution, especially over like the past 10 years, just in, the products and all that stuff. But, there's really been an evolution the past few years of just people getting excited about the sport too. And that's super great to see.
Yeah, I work part-time for SCHEELS as a bow tech. My full-time position, or my full-time, what pays my bills is I'm a professional coach. And the growth within the youth and women within our sport is just huge. It's tremendous to see that come alive. And it's an extremely satisfying thing as a coach to be able to be fortunate enough to work with them when they have that, what I call the aha moment, when you're trying to teach them something and show them a better way of doing something or a more efficient way, and they struggle with it, and then all of a sudden the light clicks, and they go, oh, now I know what you mean. And that is probably the most satisfying part of the sport for me as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Just being able to see that growth and personal development. Because, the one really good thing about archery is literally anyone can pick up a bow. So you can go out there, you can start shooting, but it can take a lifetime to master.
Oh yeah, very definitely. And the biggest part of this, with it being the kids and the youth and the women and the new bow hunters, is that the coaching that is available now, the advice, the guidance. Well, when I started, there wasn't. It was more like a kept secret of something that this is how I do it, and I do it really well, and I'm not going to tell you because I can still beat you and shoot better than you. Nowadays, it is so shared with the information. It's just unbelievable how well that's been received.
Mm-hmm. And Brian, you do a little coaching as well too, don't you?
Well, I do. It's mainly in the store. Or at my house, just with either new people learning again, or maybe they're wanting to sight in their bows, whatever they need, and still trying to get kids or new people into the sport that I love. So
being able to work with Brian and watch him in the store is really kind of a pleasure. Any young person, anybody new or trying to learn that comes in, Brian takes the time back in our shooting range, which a lot of places don't, or a lot of people don't do, and he takes the time and he shows them the correct way or the most efficient way to do things that will give them a very repeatable shot. And that part is, I can't say hats off enough to Brian for taking the time to do that.
Thanks, Jack. I think I got a tear in my eye, but I appreciate that.
No, that's very sincere. I see so many places that you come in, you pick it up, and you walk out the door, and then you're going, what do I do now? And all of the Joe Ed classes and the things that I teach and the places that I look at, I want to look at some of them and go, where'd you get it at? Where it really doesn't matter. But I know it wasn't from Brian or somebody around there, because they'd be fit correctly. Biggest mistakes that people make is not being fit correctly for their equipment. It becomes a cascading effect. And that's one of the things that I was really happy when I heard this year that they wanted to. Last year, because of COVID, we were going to do some form work at the U, but because of COVID and coaching and the form type things are more on one-on-one or hands-on, or we actually need to be together. It's really tough to do a FaceTime or a Skype and go, okay, this is what you need to do, unless you've worked with them before.
Yeah, that's definitely more of an in-person kind of thing. And that's, that's one thing that's really good about just going to a SCHEELS in general. Like, if we have an archery shop there, anyone can go there, anyone can ask questions. We encourage you to do that. So it's, that's probably one of the most intimidating things about starting archery is, especially if you don't have a mentor right away. Like, where do I go? What do I do? Go to SCHEELS, talk to Brian.
Well, one of the things that we see is, as either new people come in, they enter into their first time in archery, either in their class at school in the NASP program, National Archery in the Schools program, or they did it at a summer camp or something from Game Fish and Parks where you're using a Genesis bow, an introductory bow, and it's all fun. It's a great way to start that, especially to show interest to anybody. And they might not go over form probably the best because they're putting a lot of kids and a lot of people through things. And say I had a lady the other day. Yep, I used to do archery with an old bow. I said, yeah, how come you don't do it anymore? Well, it kind of hurt. It hit my arm and it kind of hurt. I mean, it's still fun, but it kind of hurt. I'm like, yeah, that's what the majority of the people happened. It's just, well, it doesn't hurt, and you don't change that somehow. You get used to it. It was the old mentality of it, and that's something that a lot of us that have been, I guess through the like the NTS system, the USA's NTS system, National Training System of Archery, shown a correct way. I remember for quite a few years, hey, bend your arm. Get your arm out of the way. Bend your arm. Well, it shortens your draw length, and it's not correct.
The one I like the best is it's a self-correcting problem. You'll either quit shooting or you'll learn how to get your arm out of the way. And that is so not right.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's so many people that are interested in it. Sometimes it's intimidating. It looks like it's a little harder, but it isn't. And once they get just overcome that anxiety, then and listen to more form issues or a technical issue of how to hold your arm, it becomes enjoyable. Hey, because it doesn't sting.
When it doesn't hurt, it is fun. Or when you hit the middle, it is fun.
Oh, absolutely. Or when you get that first Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yep, and then after the 6th or 7th, it just becomes expensive.
Yep, then it becomes annoying. Yeah, the excitement factor kind of tends to go away once it starts adding up into the pocketbook pretty fast.
It certainly can be. It's just been a real pleasure to work with SCHEELS in the things that we do and to watch the people and to help some of the newer shooters that come into it. Or even better yet, when you get some of the old veterans that come in that say, this is how I've always done it. And I simply look at them and say, is that where you always hit? And they go, yep. And they go, my question next is, well, do you want to hit over here where you should hit? And they go, yeah. So, okay, then let's try this. And right after that, shortly, I'll ask them how far down the rabbit hole they want to go and what they should be looking at and working on. It can be kind of a daunting thing. Brian mentioned the NTS system, and if I told you that there were 14 different steps with approximately 12 different sub-steps on each one of those steps that you had to do to shoot one arrow, would you want to do it?
That would get to
nope.
be a lot.
Yeah, well, you sit there and you go, okay, I get to do all these things just to shoot one arrow. Okay, so you don't start with all of them right away. You start with 4 basic steps. You get your stance, your posture, and your hook, your grip, your anchor, and then your follow through. And those are the basics that start everybody off everywhere. And it doesn't matter if it's NASP or 4-H or if it's a USA program. Those are the basic parts of it. Now, they're a little bit more complicated than just that or saying that, but that's the simplicity of it. You know, once you learn that, the next thing you have to learn is how to repeat it on each shot. So to coin a phrase from a very learned individual, archery is an easy sport. It's 2 steps. First step, learn how to shoot a 10. Second step, learn how to repeat.
There you go.
So 2 steps. And I heard that a long time ago from him, and it just hung on because it's actually pretty true. Learn how to repeat what you're doing, and you can do that.
It's interesting as we teach kids, even beginners to intermediates, and this can translate even into adults too, because we're all a beginner at something. But when we have some of the, Jack teaches a lot of advanced, from beginner to intermediate, advanced, elite kids, youth archery, and it's fun to watch them grow in a disciplined sport. I mean, archery is a discipline. It's a martial art, and you have to be disciplined. But watch them grow as they decide for themselves if they are going to really breathe and take in all of those steps, or at least some of the main ones at first, to try to get their shot in their group or on target the best that they can, and now how to repeat it again. And it's neat to see that and to see them grow when it seems like we live in a world of gaming and you know, a lot of electronics and stuff like that takes our attention away. And this is, again, it's just a primal thing. It's just such a almost a heritage. It's a heritage, you know. So, but you know, we also throw the analogy to golf. A lot of people golf. The ones that are really good at golf, it's so much more mental than just the physical part of it. And it's the same way with archery. You can learn archery until you can learn all the physical parts. As a kid, of course, you're growing, so it's a nightmare for bow technicians and probably parents because they're outgrowing stuff. But it's neat to see them do that. But just like in golf, if you have the mindset to remember the path to that perfect, whether it's a putt or drive or whatever, I don't know much about golf, but in archery, it's the same thing. It's very, I read a lot of books about both the mindset of archery and the mindset of golf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a great analogy because I mean, I apply that to my own doing too, because like I used to golf with my parents all the time when I was in high school. We had a membership. We'd visit my grandma, and then we'd go do a round of golf, and you know, I was probably playing twice a week, maybe more. And the repeatability was just there, and I was shooting okay. Like I wasn't lights out or anything, but like I wasn't too bad on the golf course. and then, go off to college, and then now I got like kids, and now I golf like twice a year, and I feel like I should be as good as I used to be. And boy, is that wrong, like, it's frustrating. And, it's kind of the same thing with archery too. 'Cause like I find myself, like book a trip, get really excited, shoot a whole bunch, like at least, shoot a dozen arrows every day, or like then, start shooting a whole bunch, start stretching out your effective range. You find yourself getting really good. And then, you like put the bow away for the winter, and then it's like, oh, it's turkey season, I want to shoot one, and then get back out, and it's like, wow, my range at 40 is just nowhere near where it used to be. So
there is no off season in archery. What are you talking about? Put it away in the wintertime.
Yeah, I never said that. I mean, I shoot every day.
There's no off season.
Well, in the mind, there's no off season for me. I'm definitely thinking about it every day, but getting out to physically shooting, I need to do
you
it
travel
more.
a bunch with what you do, so that, we'll cut you a little bit of slack there.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
But do me a favor and stretch that 12 arrows up to 24 arrows, okay?
Okay. You know what? I'll do that for you.
Okay.
You agreed to be on this podcast, so I'll agree to double the amount of arrows that I shoot.
At least a month ahead of whatever season you're going for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That look you just gave me was, if your viewers could see that, they'd go, yeah, right. Well, what flag is that you would throw? So, but getting into the whole form part, once your body, and to talk about what Brian did and what you're hedging towards with the mental aspect of it, once your body has learned the basic forms and achieved a certain level of proficiency, then everything starts to change within your form, going from, I'm really working on this at 80% in the form part. Now all of a sudden your body is figuring it out. Your mind is making the connections with your muscles to make the shots. You're still at 20% working on the mind part. Once it makes those connections, then all of a sudden it flips and it becomes mental. I was talking with a gentleman in the store the other day that said he still hasn't shot his first 300. And I says, what's the problem? He says, well, it's got to be my eyesight. I said, no, it's your critical 6 inches, the part between the ears. I said, if you can shoot at 299, 59 out of 60 arrows in the middle, what's holding you back on that last one? I said, it's the critical 6 inches. It's that part in between the ears. You're doubting something, you're questioning it, you're getting overexcited. So that at that level, that's where that mental part of it comes in. But now how do you get somebody to that level? It's a lot of practice, and it's a lot of searching places out to be able to practice and shoot and then get some guidance on it. Whether it's at a club level or whether you're coming in talking to people like Brian at SCHEELS or myself, there's just all kinds of avenues that you can go to for that. The biggest things that you really want to look for is make sure that you get a good fitting bow, that the draw length is correct. That is one of the keys. The next key is that you're not overbowing yourself. If you get too heavy a poundage, you can't shoot it with the correct form and do what you're asking your body to do. You can't do it and sustain that. Then learning how to draw the bow properly and load it into your back. Those are some real key points to be able to think about as you're shooting. The fit is extremely important because it translates into how you hold and what your sight picture looks like. If you're too long on the bow, you get a great big slow moving picture that drops out the bottom and you can't get back up to where you want to go. If you're too short in the sight or too short in your draw, your sight moves around like a little fly buzzing in there and it's just constantly moving. You never get to a stable picture. But how to tell, that's where you need professional people that know how to look at it and know how to tell that. And that's one thing that SCHEELS does really well is they put the information out there and make sure that the people working within their archery departments know what to look for. Brian I've seen him look at people and go, nope, you're a 1/4 inch this way or a 1/4 inch that way or a 1/2 inch this way. And he does it in the blink of an eye. He can walk by people that are shooting in the range trying out a bow going, nope, they need it different. So
Good advice. So, now that I've got both of you guys here, you've definitely flung a lot of arrows in your day and seen a lot of people fling a lot of arrows. I'd like to go over some just, most commonly seen mistakes and then some tips. So, Brian, what are some of the most commonly seen mistakes when you see somebody come in that wants to, like a beginner that wants to get their first bow?
Well, probably the first one. They pick a bow that is probably over poundaged for them. That's probably the number one thing. We all want to feel good about ourselves. We want to think, more poundage is always better, whether because it shoots flatter, of course. So that'll make me hit the target a lot quicker. And if I'm a hunter, of course, we want an ethical harvest. So we want that arrow to penetrate all the way through. Okay, we need that. So they keep it at a higher poundage, but it throws their form off because our bodies are built for collapsing in our shoulders and our back and hips. So many things, our neck or everything, our hand. So it's I'd say poundage is probably the key. Is one of the first ones. That's a mistake, and then of course it'll probably roll over into draw length. The first one is more technical. It's the physical item. So, and you can adjust most bows to a certain poundage. Some are very adjustable, but they overbow themselves at first, which then causes inconsistencies in their drawing and then of course in their shooting. That would probably be the first one that comes to my mind. Second one would probably be really if they're going to start archery, what bow are they going to get into? Maybe they get into a used bow, which is fine. You can pick them out there on the market for half price or something, but sometimes they won't allow the draw length to be there. Maybe the poundage fits, but the draw length doesn't fit. So there's a lot of things. It's kind of like, I guess, buying a used car that has 100,000 miles on it, and you're hoping it to last, but maybe it doesn't, or maybe it doesn't even do what you want it to do. And you save money on it, but in the long run, it doesn't make you shoot better. So then all your efforts are for naught. Now it's not enjoyable. It's only I remember a long time ago, I bought my wife a bow. Actually, she wasn't my wife; she was my girlfriend then. But bought her a used bow. Thought I'm going to get her into the sport that I love, and it was a little too long. And she was a trooper. She her arm, she had contusions on her arm, purple. And she took it like a champ until it was like, how come you don't want to shoot your bow? She's like, it hurts. So, and only when I became an archery manager, then I was like, hey, you get this bow here, and this one's adjustable. We're going to adjust it all the way down, and I can fit her. And I fit her exactly. And she says, why did we not do this a long time ago? and it would have been a lot less painful. And she enjoyed it. I mean, really enjoyed it. So I think fitting a bow or picking out a bow and not becoming over-poundaged with a bow, those are probably two of the top ones that come to my mind.
Okay.
That's pretty accurate. When I'm watching, and it doesn't matter whether it's a new shooter or a veteran shooter, you can tell where they're at within their shot process. Biggest mistake that I typically see is probably bow hand or brace hand, and I refrain from calling it the grip hand because the grip is in the bow, it's not your hand. Your hand simply braces the bow from coming back at you. But they'll be holding the bow and they'll be squeezing it so hard their knuckles are turning white and their fingers are turning white. And that's probably one of the biggest causes for left-right misses. as well as if you're going to let a bow down, torquing it and dry firing and derailing it. That's probably number one on my hit list for what I look for as far as issues or areas to work on first with somebody. The second biggest one is that they're bringing the bow to them and not them to the bow. Meaning when you draw the bow, everything should be still. If you have a golf swing...
What did you just say?
If you're drawing the bow...
You do what?
That you're still.
No, before that. What do you do the bow?
Drawing.
To? Yeah. The biggest thing that you want to do is what?
When you draw the bow,
that
you hold still.
And you're doing what not to do and what to do?
Yeah, what not, well, yeah. Biggest thing that I see people do is they're moving themselves to the bow, not the bow to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, he called him out on that one. Okay, just making him get to it.
Well, no, he. I think you said it the opposite.
You did say it the opposite way around. That was a good catch.
Okay.
Hey,
right.
that's why I'm here. I'm not just a pretty face.
No, you're not. Sorry, Brian. Sorry, Mindy. But no, you have to bring the bow to you. You don't go to it. You draw the bow correctly and you bring it all to you. And you'll see people that will corkscrew themselves into the bow and try to make it fit that way. And that's just not right. It makes it so much harder to learn and so much more to have fun at when you're trying to do those things or do it that way versus simply bring it to you. And that's also one of the ways that you tell whether or not the bow fits you correctly is if you're bringing it to you and not you to it. So those are two real key things to look at. I get asked all the time this question in the store when I step out on the sales floor, where I'm not supposed to be because I'm supposed to be working on stuff.
You're supposed to be there.
People will ask me, and they giggle when I answer this question for them. They'll ask me, what bow should I buy? That's a huge question. What bow should I invest in? And I simply tell them, walk around and pick up every bow that you see. Put it in your hand and hold it. Don't look at the price tag. Don't look at anything else. Just hold that bow. Look down at it. When you look down, you go, oh, yeah. Serious. If you do that, that's the one you buy.
I'm 100% with you on that because I've went through quite a few bows in my day and I've bought, I've used a lot of different brands. Like the first one I ever got, I don't even know what it was. I think it was like a 1986 Browning I got from my uncle.
I remember those.
That was older than me, and it was a great bow. I learned on it, and that one will always have a special place in my heart. But then I bought like a Reflex. It's I don't think they even make them anymore. But what was it? Hoyt. It was like an off-brand Hoyt. Yeah. And then after that, then I moved to a High Country, if you remember that. Nice. And then from there to a Bowtech. And then to a Hoyt and to a Matthews. So I've shot quite a few of them, but especially the past few that I've done, it's been okay. I'm gonna go into SCHEELS with an open mind, and I'm gonna shoot all the bows, and I'm gonna pick the one that just fits me the best. Yep. And exactly like you said, like you hold it and you just go, oh yeah. This is the one.
Well, it does a couple of things when you get that feeling with it. You sit there and you hold it and you go, oh. One, it means you really like it. So then price becomes no real object, okay? But it also means you're going to go spend time with it. Yeah. You're not going to take something. If you buy something that's going, then you're going to go, well, maybe I'll go shoot today, maybe I won't go shoot today. But if you go, oh, I like that. You're going to spend time with it. And that's how you get better. You spend time and you do it and you shoot it and you work on stuff. If 90% of the people would simply do that, find that one bow that they just go, okay, they're going to want to shoot it. And they'll go spend time and they'll learn how to shoot it. And they'll learn how to shoot better with it that way.
Yeah, buy your generic brand toilet paper and your generic brand milk and save the money there, but spend it on the bow, right?
Eat ramen noodles for a couple of years.
Yeah, well, at least a year.
Something like that.
So
that's good stuff.
You get out of that what you put into it. when you purchase something like that. You really do. If you look at it as an investment, I mean, how many bows does the average person go buy in their lifetime? I don't know. I know how many bows I own, and I hate to put a number to how many Brian owns.
I
but,
have owned a few right now, maybe 8, 10.
But it's one that most people, if they invest in one good bow, it's going to last them 10 years, 20 years, if they simply take care of it. Then they can hand it down like you got your first bow, you know.
Exactly.
So, Brian, what else?
It comes back around. I've always felt 60% of buying the bow is in the grip alone. It has to feel good in the hand. Problem is, the grip, when we are instructing, the grip isn't the grip. We brace the bow, we don't grip the bow. But as a hunter, we're carrying it 99% of the time. So we're gripping the bow. It's just we, as a hunter, the interesting thing is to become a better hunter, you have to become a better archer. And to be an archer and to be a good archer, you can't grip the bow. You need to brace the bow, and you need to do your form correctly. And then once your form and your process is better, then you can shoot better and you become a better hunter. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but that's when people come in. And of course, there's the new client. There's kids, women, new guys coming in just wanting to pick up the sport just because it really doesn't have to cost a lot, and you know, you get to reuse your ammo, so that's cool. But,
yeah, as long as you don't lose it.
Well,
and everyone loses them every once in a while.
One of the exciting things now that's going on, you talk about bow hunters, TAC, which is a huge archery shoot that goes through the Midwest.
Total Archery Challenge.
And they've got shots in there that range out to, 110, 120 yards?
Even out to 140.
140, okay. And I don't know if at the university, at the novelty part, they're going to have anything that goes out that far.
I'll make sure they do.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm excited to try.
Well, the thing is, if you want to be able to hit that, you have to be extremely accurate with your form. And I want you to think about this. If your release hand and you don't release correctly, if it comes off of your face away from your anchor by a 1/16 of an inch, that's really, really small. How far at 140 yards is that going to move you if you're a right-handed shooter to the left?
It's going to be a ways.
You're going to miss the whole bale. Okay? At 70 meters, which is just a little over 80, I think just a little over 80 yards, a 1/16 of an inch will move you approximately 8 inches. So that's, you know, you want to hit those small spots and you want to shoot that long distance, that's where it all comes back down to form.
Yeah.
Okay? Making sure that it's done correctly, that you're following through right, that everything is done the way it should be done so that you can make those shots. And long-range shooting nowadays is just really taking a craze, especially in the 3D shoots. And even at our local club stuff, we've got guys that want to make those long shots. To be able to do it accurately, you have to be really precise. You can't waver from those things.
Yep. So, okay, you have me interested in longer shots and increasing my effective range. What are some of your tips at doing that, at increasing your effective range? Like, say you feel pretty comfortable at 60, but you want to be proficient at 100. What do you suggest for tips or like strategy to do that?
Well, wait. I'm going to back up just a minute because I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Why do you want to shoot that far?
Because I just want to feel really comfortable when I'm shooting at what I feel is my effective range, and I want to put a more emphasis on hunting out west, where I feel like I'm going to have opportunities to shoot at longer distances, and I want to make sure that I can be ethical and confident at a longer distance.
That's perfect. That's the best response. One of the things, there's so many, like Jack was saying about Total Archer Challenge and a lot of the newer upcoming 3D fun shoots or adventure shoots. A lot of these different things are kind of popping up, and we're shooting a little bit more of a longer distance. One of those reasons, I guess, is because some of the guys are going out west. They're doing their own hunts. Some people go, well, I need to hunt a lot further because now I'm spotting and stalking, and the game I'm not going to be as close. So now I got to be able to take shots further, and that is true. Spotting and stalking, we always hope, and I guess if you're downwind and all that, and you're really good, stealthy, then you can get up close, given the right opportunities. To me, I always like having people come in and they want to get a sight. Okay, we've always had fixed sights, but now they want to shoot longer distance, and they can't. So they get an adjustable sight, whether it's an adjustable single pin or it's an adjustable 2-pin, 3-pin, 5-pin, whatever. They used to have sights that were fixed, but they were fixed 5-pin, 7-pin, 10-pin, 12-pin. It's like a little Christmas tree in there.
Confusion.
So, yeah, but you got a pin for it, so why not? But you still just is kind of confusing. So my mission is anybody buys a bow and sight whatever the bow. I don't care if the kid's really young. I still want them to evolve into a longer distance shooter, because if you can shoot better long distance, that means you are doing your correct form. You are understanding your form. Because if you go out and try to shoot long distance and you can't hit long distance, well, something's wrong. But it's not the bow. The bow is mechanical. We can fix all that. We can make it, just this side of perfect mechanically. But it's the shooter, just like a golf club, So
there's still something about walking up to a 140-yard shot and letting it loose and watching that arrow fly.
Especially if you got a lighted knock and you can watch it the whole way.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But to Brian's point with it, yes, your form does have to, at distance, has to be that much cleaner, that much crisper. If you can't feel your release drag on your face, you came away from it, you're going to probably go left. And when I say on your face, as you release through the shot, it has to stay in contact with your face. If you have no follow through at all, then you're losing your back. You're going to lose your arrows going low left. If you flip your bow hand over and look at it after 6 shots and you don't see a solid red line going right down your thumb next to your lifeline, then you're not consistently putting your hand in the same spot in the bow. Now, the same thing with the bow hand as the release coming off of your face just a little bit. If you're trying to shoot long range and you're not hitting the same spot on your bow hand each and every time, you're not going to hit the same place that you want to aim at. Okay? So those are our 2 really big tips, and those are tips that I'll be talking about tomorrow within the bow hand and what you're doing with the release hand and how you're coming through the release, just to make it cleaner and crisper. And anybody that has a crisp release knows the difference, and you can see the difference with a crisp, clean release versus a stationary one. And you want to shoot 140 yards, you need all of those things working together to do that. So to that point, I don't shoot a lot. My shoulders, had surgery on my shoulder. I don't shoot repetitiously. I don't shoot like target shooting as much as I used to. Of course I shoot at targets. But what I do is I take my 10 shots and I don't shoot for group, maybe 2, maybe 3 arrows at most.
at a animal target or a bullseye target, out at whatever distance. But I shoot mainly from about 30 yards, very rarely 30 yards, 40 yards to 120. Because there, all I really care about is my form. Mechanically, I know my bow is, this side of perfect. It's I've been over it. It's really just me, and it's my follow through. Just like a basketball player, you shoot basketball, you shoot hoops a lot from a 3-point line, but if you don't have good follow through, you don't have the consistency. A lot of it is bow arm, draw arm, follow through, which is your form. And if you do your form correctly, you don't need to shoot all that often. You just make those key shots at whatever distance, one arrow, especially when you're shooting a 3D target out there at 60, 80, 90, 100 yards. You only got, a foot, 6 inches plus or minus up and down. Otherwise, that arrow's gone. So you make sure that your form is perfect and everything's right. And once you do that, you create a habit. 21 days to create a habit, to then your body knows nothing else. And when you go out there and you kneel down out in the grass somewhere, you can make one shot.
I'm going to kind of cut in on that. You shoot 10 shots now, right? When you're prepping for a hunt or whatever you're going after. But when you started shooting, because herein lies the wonderful paradox, you're at a level or at a stage that is farther ahead than what 70% of the bow hunters are. He put his time in behind the bow. When you were putting that time in, what was your practice like?
Well, it was as many arrows as I could go, run down, grab them, come back, shoot them again.
Okay.
Fast as I can.
But what I'm getting at is you put your time in to know that, so that it did become repeatable. And that's where so many people, winter's here, we're putting the bow away. Summer's here, we're going to go fishing all the time, we're going to go camping all the time, we're going to go do all this all the time. Oh, it's the end of July, middle August. I got to go get my bow cleaned up, worked on, checked over, make sure it's okay. Then I got to find practice time. Then September 1st, because we're in South Dakota, is opening for deer season.
Oh, yeah, and there was an antelope season. I better grab an antelope tag.
Okay.
And that was back in late August.
So now they haven't touched their bow since they put it away in the wintertime, and they're expecting to be able to perform at a level of proficiency. If they're going antelope hunting, they're looking at shots that are from 40 to 80 yards. And if they're really confident in themselves, they'll take one out to 100 yards. There are so many things that can go wrong with that 100-yard shot.
So many things.
When you're hunting, that it's unbelievable. But getting back to it, Brian put the time in. So now when he says he'll go out and he'll shoot 10 arrows, and he's looking for this result, or this is what he is looking for, he knows his shot. He knows his form. He knows what to expect. Only way to get that is put the time in behind the bow.
Repetition.
Yep.
Yeah, and let your body rest in between. It's not, I tell a lot of people, don't just go out there and shoot 5 or 8 or 10 arrows. Just shoot 3. Then give your body a break. Come back, and then, go in, drink a glass of water, hydrate, and then go back out and shoot another 3. Just make them your best 3 that you can, and really think about it.
Yeah, that is very true. Some of my tournament shooters, I'll tell them, okay, here's your deal to put pressure on you. And it's the same as Mr. 40 pointer coming out the bushes that you're looking at, and you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to shoot him.
I think he meant like at least 140.
140. Oh no. Oh, okay. 40 point. Yeah, there you go. But I say, here's your practice for today. You go out, you have 1 arrow. If it's a 10, you get to shoot a second one. If it's not a 10, you go put your stuff away. They go, what? I said, yeah. You can come back out an hour from now and shoot again.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But that's the pressure part of that is why you put in the time behind the bow. because anybody that has has drawn on a large game animal, whether it's a doe or a great big buck, especially if it happens to be their first one, their heart starts pounding. If it's a great big buck, your heart starts pounding. You're short of breath, and you're starting to sit there and go, ho, ho, ho.
If your heart's not pounding at that point, you're doing the wrong thing.
But you put the time in ahead of time, working that form so that your body can handle that pressure. And you can turn it into your subconscious part, which gets back to the mental, and say, okay, do what you do. And you'll place that arrow right where you need to. But until you start working through some of those form issues, you don't have the concepts of what you really need to do. And that's one of the things that SCHEELS does so well with the bows that we sell through our store. I can't speak for all of them. I would have to believe it's all equal, that they get similar shopping experience as they do with our store. Now, we're blessed at our store with having Brian and a pretty tenured staff to where we can do those things, give them the right guidance to go down the right paths.
And I would say, we're blessed in that because we also have a good mixture of target archers, complete target archers, and our market is 70, 80, maybe even close to 90% hunters. So we have a mixture of that. So the nice thing is the target archers make us be on our toes and make our bow technicians and our mechanics have to be tight and spot on. And the bow hunters are going to get the same instruction that we give the target archers and in all that. So I think it helps out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've always thought that we're all just a bunch of target shooters or spot shooters.
Yeah, it just depends on what the target is, right?
Depends on the spot.
That's right.
So you guys have given some excellent information and advice, but to finish this out, I'd like to lighten it up a little bit, and I'd like to hear both of your favorite archery related stories.
I don't know if I can tell that one.
All right.
Yeah, let's keep it like PG-13.
Yeah, no, probably one of my favorite ones is, and this just kind of happened recently, is meeting the guy that I really idolized, and I haven't met him, but John Williams, who won the 72 Olympics. I had an opportunity to actually talk with the man. It was just one of those to where when you start getting goosebumps, when you start thinking about accomplishments, that would have been probably, besides being able to work with Brian every day.
Nice.
Oh, of course. That one's just a given.
Nice.
Do you have a Kleenex? I can wipe my nose off.
Here, I got you.
Nice.
All right. How about you, Brian?
Okay. I'm going to try not to be long-winded. So I got a lot of different stories. A lot of different stories. But I guess one that I tell people about, and of course some of the guys, my buddies that grew up with archery with me, I'm sure they tell this story a lot. But I remember one time I was up in a tree stand, and rut was going on, deer were moving. Of course, back then there wasn't trail cameras or anything like that, so this is a while ago. But so beautiful morning, nice buck comes in, and it's a Pope and Young buck. It's 130, 130 inches. And I'm like, all right, this thing is coming in right to a fence line. It's crazy, but I had a little aluminum foil ball that I hung off a piece of thread. And it was just to get its attention. Didn't smell, didn't do anything, didn't have any scent on it. Just something to get their attention on the fence line. And they would cross. He came right up to it. It's like 10 yards. I'm 20 foot up in this tree. Now, why am I 20 foot up in that tree? Okay,
Because you can.
This is in Nebraska. You don't want to be 20 foot up the tree. But on one side of the ground, I was only probably about 12 feet off the ground. And where the deer came in, it was a little deeper down into a a ravine.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a little further. So I had my 10, pretty sure, no, I had of course, my first pin was a 20-yard pin. I put it right on him, right? And I touch off the trigger, and it shoots right over his back. Okay? How many times have you heard that story, hunting shot? So I'm, of course, upset. But it's early, and I'm like, do I stay? Do I leave? What do I do? So I stay. So still a good morning. I've seen my biggest deer, and I've seen the more amount of deer between 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon in this area. So I'm like, I got to stay. Maybe I'll come back around or something. So another buck comes in, literally probably about an hour later, not even an hour. He comes in, does the same thing, different buck, but he's Pope and Young too. He's right in there. He's not close. He's probably about 127, something like that. And he's on the other side of this where I've got this post, and I put it just a little lower, right? Because I missed one high, so I put a little lower. And shoot, goes right under him. Yeah, well, to say I'm upset is a little bit of an understatement, right? So I'm like, okay, that can't happen anymore. So clearly I need a 10-yard pin. So what do? I don't even think MacGyver was around then, but what I did is I grabbed some thread, because I always, doesn't every hunter carry a spool of thread in their backpack? That's another story. I'll leave it. But I took out some thread. I wrapped it around my sight, because back then your sight was square. Mm-hmm. It wasn't round. Oh, yeah.
Mine started out with stick pins and styrofoam.
Nice. So I tied that thread on there, wound it around itself in the middle, and took some of my bubble gum and stuck it in the middle and made a pin. And I stuck it about just, eighth of an inch above my 20-yard pin, and made a 10-yard pin out of that. I'm like, okay. And this all happened.
Now are
literally.
You going to tell me at the end of this that you actually shoot a deer this way?
Yeah.
Hey,
I
don't
can't jump to
spoil
that.
it. Don't spoil it.
I'm trying to keep this
story there, Jay.
as short as possible.
Okay.
Okay. So if my buddies are listening, they're already laughing. But so
I think more than just your buddies are laughing at this point when you're pulling out string and bubble gum.
So I get this ready. I'm like, okay, it's still not even the middle of when I see most deer. I'm going to set. And I just can't believe it, right? But whatever. So 20, 30 minutes later, another buck comes in. And this one's probably the biggest yet. I mean, he's probably 140. He isn't a monster, but to me, he was. So I'm like, perfect. He comes right into where the first one is, like 10 yards. I stick the bubble gum right on him, right? And I shoot. It goes right underneath him. And I literally, I took out my jackknife and I contemplated, I need to stab this in my leg to make me feel something different than what I'm feeling right now. But I didn't really want to die, so I refrained, and I got up and left. I couldn't believe it. I missed 3 Pope and Young deer within 3-hour period. Wow. And I changed all that I believed in then, and I said, I'm never going to shoot at a deer that's any closer than 20 yards. I'm going to wait until they walk behind me, and they're going to be at 20 yards when I shoot them. So I've kind of lived by that.
Wow.
That's my story.
Wow.
So, what do you think the reasoning is behind those misses?
Well, I mean, for I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years. No, not that long. You think about it, and I was trying to make something technical. Right? It had to be the bow, had to be the arrow, had to be the sight, had to be this, had to be that. Can't be me. So for years, boy, do I hear that. Mm-hmm. I hear that every day. in the shop. But the tough thing is we're kind of in denial. Because how? Oh, I got anxious. It's an anxiety. I got anxious, and I either moved, or I tried, or I pushed, or I pulled, or I punched the trigger. So at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of maybe 5 years, I decided, hey, that's probably what it was. It was me,
So
not the actual bow.
So my question now is, did you go and did you shoot that bubblegum pin, and was it right on 10 yards?
I took it off because I was like, you know what? I can't do this. Bubble gum's going to get hard. It's going to crack off. Somebody's going to see it. Think I'm some, hillbilly.
Yeah, because the bubblegum is the embarrassing part of that.
That's
day,
right. Exactly. I'm not going to kid you. I'm pretty sure I squeezed a few tears out. I couldn't believe it. I'm over it. No, I'm not.
You finally came to terms with it. No, you don't come to terms with that stuff.
I don't.
Oh, that's some great stuff. Well, you know what? I greatly appreciate both of you guys' time, and I'm personally looking forward to hearing your seminar on your shooting form, and hopefully I can learn a few tips from you guys, and hopefully I don't have to put some bubble gum on my new site. So.
Well, I think how he just said that means he wants to be we'll use him as a demonstration. Awesome.
Could be.
Oh yeah.
I usually pick on the biggest guys in the class.
It is. It's fun. More fun to pick on them.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I got to run a video camera back here. You can't take that away.
Right.
Not that it doesn't have a tripod and records anyways, but we'll see.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Mike. Appreciate it.
You just heard our segment with Brian Klatt and Jack Moulton on archery form and technique. We've been seeing many new people getting into archery, and it's truly an awesome sport. It's great for building confidence and focus, and there's so many different ways a person can become immersed in the sport, whether it's through hunting, tournament shooting, or just tossing a few arrows in the backyard to relieve some stress. The most important thing is to get yourself fitted with the correct bow that will allow proper form and technique. Our SCHEELS experts are here to help with that every step of the way, from measuring proper draw length and getting the right draw weight to finding that perfect bow for your shooting application. Hopefully you enjoyed this segment, and we're going to be coming out with a lot of future archery content on our SCHEELS Outdoors social media pages and also our YouTube channel. So make sure to be following those pages to stay updated. And with that, we'd like to thank you all for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Stay tuned for future segments and visit our social media pages, SCHEELS Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates.